All right. Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Michelle Dang with the Wishwell podcast. I'm here with two very special guests. This is actually something that we decided at the very last minute. I think I was working from home and sent these wonderful ladies a message about maybe doing a special episode for the podcast. And here they are, Heather and Emmeline. Welcome, you two.
Thanks for having us. Hello.
So we're actually recording both audio and video. Hopefully the video will work out and I can upload the video to YouTube. But as some of you who have been following along and maybe seeing some of our posts and some of the podcast episodes, we had mentioned at one point that we were putting on a conference which was supposed to coincide with Women's Health Week, which is this week. And our conference was to be held actually tomorrow, which is Saturday. And I don't know when I'm going to get around to posting it. It'll probably be sometime this weekend. And it was interesting because earlier when we were chatting beforehand, I said something to the effect of, what did I say? I said like this conference didn't happen or couldn't happen, and Heather said this will happen. And so just a little positive spin on what we will put together hopefully very soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm so excited to have you both here. I know you both have been in previous episodes sharing your stories. I know Emmeline's was purpose and Heather's was acceptance, and we all have our own personal journeys. And especially in this time of the pandemic with all these changes and we have to adjust our daily lives, a lot of things we've been feeling, all been feeling a lot of things. And so I just wanted to get the ladies together today to kind of share with you all how we've all been feeling, which I know a lot of people can relate to. So let's just chat.
Yeah.
So how have y'all been feeling during this time?
I think it's been a lot of kids, a lot of food, a lot of cooking, a lot of just being with your loved ones, which I think has been difficult but wonderful all at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense, but it has been a dichotomy of feelings, hard, but just also wonderful at the same time. I don't know if you guys have felt that or kind of what you guys are thinking.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the initial first couple weeks was really hard just because a lot of my friends like you, Heather, were working the front lines and I was working from home and I felt very helpless. And on the one hand, I knew I had to make some hard decisions. I knew the three of us had talked together about having to postpone the conference, and that was a difficult decision. It was really disappointing. And also along with that, a lot of feelings of helplessness because I wanted to be out there with you guys, but also I couldn't, and I had to be there for my patients through another way by telemedicine on video or on the phone. So there are a lot of, I think, in the beginning, negative feelings that it took some time for me personally. I think it took about, I want to say at least almost even a month working through some of the negative feelings in order for me to find really the positives out of this.
Yeah, I would say for me it was the contrary. I think at the beginning I was like, okay, this is gonna pass, like let's enjoy it right now, and we're gonna cook together and spend more time. And then now, like when it's really hard to know when this is gonna be really ending, and it's really compromising and affecting so much of our routines and all the plans that we had for the summer. And it's like, when are we gonna be able to get back to some kind of a normal life? When am I gonna be able to see my parents? When am I gonna be able to see my sister? Am I gonna be able to see them like in 3 months, in 6 months, next year? Like that's starting to weigh on me. Actually, it wasn't in the beginning because I don't know, maybe I was blindsided. Like I didn't realize that this could really take a long time. But now I'm like, I'm not seeing the end of the tunnel, and I feel like it's actually harder for me right now than it was before.
And I think for you, Emmeline, especially, you have family that live in a completely different country, right? So,
Yes.
and I know for you, you go to visit every year with your kids. And so the kids spend their summers in France, right? And so for you, this is a time where you have to make a lot of adjustments from your normal routine because you're not able to do that. and I don't know when we'll be able to.
I know it's horrible because the kid keep on asking me, when are we going? When are we going? And I can't, I don't know. I mean, it's like on one hand, I'm like, okay, they're opening the borders at the end of July. Maybe we should go, even if it's just for 3 weeks, and are we is it gonna be safe? Should we do it? Should we not? Should I tell them, just make up your mind, you're not gonna see your ponies, you're not gonna like have that fun summer that you usually have this year, and I'm sure we'll find some other things to do. And also, it's so frustrating when I talk to my parents every day and they're bored and I have so much to do and so much to get done. Both my husband and I, like we're struggling to get stuff done because we have to be teachers now, which we never planned on being teachers, and we have to entertain them, break up fights and all that. And it's weighing so hard right now on our mental well-being. And we cannot really go outside and let it out in the places that we used to be able to do because we're all stuck together all the time. And that is so hard, I will say. Like my parents being bored, and the one thing that I would say we found that's really cool is like I call them every day for 1 hour. They relieve me and they read them stories in French, which is helpful for their French and also for connecting with my parents. Or they play card games. Like they get a set of cards here and my parents have their set on the other end. They can play together. So that's been helpful. But other than that, it's just very sad.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing that I thought about, which, I am very grateful for, is that this is happening now in 2020, wherein there is so much access to technology. And so although this is a very difficult time for many people, the fact that we are able to communicate with our friends and family through, video technology has made a huge difference.
Yeah, and I would tell you for them, the girls usually, every time I was calling my parents, because I always communicate on FaceTime with my parents. That's just the way it's always been, which is funny because now that, like everybody has to do it, so everybody understands. But my kids usually hate it when it was time to call my parents on FaceTime. They're like, oh, we don't want to talk to them. But now because they don't really have interactions with anybody else, they actually really enjoy talking to them and they ask for calling them. So you're right. Like that was really good. At least for my parents, that makes them feel great.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting that we're going to have to process the grief and of losing our normal routine. And that can mean many things for many different people. And for you, it's not being able to go to France for the summer. For other people, it means, it's different. Everybody's an individual, and how are we going to move forward with that grief, and how do we process that? I think that's going to be a hard thing it's been hard for me, like the plans for what we're going to do for the summer, and for us, and like the kids and their grandparents, and it's everybody. It's like I kind of think about it like, when we thought about 9/11 and before 9/11, we could go and drop our parents off when we were going to the airport, and we could
walk them all the way through,
all the way, and that was normal. And like I think our life has changed completely. I think it's completely changed now after this point, and like in processing that and going through, and how we're going to come out after this is going to be, I think, very interesting.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned grief, because I think way in the beginning I was kind of scrolling through my Facebook feed and I saw like this article just kept popping up, like, what you're feeling is grief, what you're feeling is grief. And I really started thinking about that, and it really is grief, like grief of what our lives were like before. And
Absolutely.
And I went through all the stages, sadness, anger, definitely anger. That was something I wrote down. And at some point we get to acceptance. Yeah. Go ahead,
like
Heather.
anger, I just want, it's just like anger, I just want my kids to like live the life that I had, and like being able to be with their friends, and hanging out, and just those summers. And it's like, okay, at this moment we have to process what we're doing and what they're going through, and it's tough for them. It really is. And it's tough for us. It's tough for everybody.
Yeah. And speaking of kids, like, how are you both kind of approaching it with your kids?
Yeah. It's funny, like I don't think we really, I mean, I will tell you like a funny story. I was on a FaceTime last Sunday with one of my best friends in London, who's Naomi's godmother, and she has two little boys. One is about to turn 3, and, and it was so funny. Like he's he's talking about, you know, like going outside. Like she was telling me like he was really having a hard time in the beginning, not being able to see his friends from daycare and not being able to see the neighbors across the street. And so he was taking his cute little like kid kitchen knife and he was going at like, I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna cut the virus. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna cut the mean virus, you know, because I guess, you know, like kids, you know, it's hard for them to really have like when they're super young, like my kids are very young, to have like grown-up conversations about it. So we have to talk about these special words, and like it's like the mean virus, or, and I think for them, I think it's more difficult for me, I think, than it is for them. Like they they got used to it so much faster than myself, I think.
I don't know. It's been hard for us. We had last weekend was my daughter's quinceañera, her 15th birthday. And that was really hard for her. She was really planning a party with her friends. And so it was very hard, but it was amazing. Let me tell you, it was actually absolutely amazing that, so we were having a parade party where friends were gonna, you know, they passed by with her in their cars with their signs and congratulated her. But then they ended up getting out of the car and we are 6 feet apart and standing. And, you know, it was only a few friends, but that, I think that birthday party meant more to everyone than if it was just a regular, like another 15-year-old quinceañera or a party that they had to go to. Like everybody was like apart, but they were like, I'm just so glad to see you and that we could get together. And this was amazing. So it was just really like beautiful, like, but like sad at the same time. So, I mean, it was really made you think about like what's important in those friends that showed up and those friends that like, I really enjoy being with you. I really enjoy that you're here with me and that I have these few moments to celebrate with you, and it made it really special. So, I mean, it was hard, but it was very moving at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can see that as well. My son had his 11th birthday just about 3 weeks ago, and I did a surprise Zoom group meeting for him and whoever of his friends were able to come. And he was really surprised, and it was really good to see all the kids. And, you know, like I mentioned before with the technology, all of our kids are homeschooling right now, and his school is doing weekly Zoom video check-ins. So it's nice. I mean, when our kids are older, they do have more of a social life and miss being around other kids and their peers. And so it's really a blessing that they're all still able to connect in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it is hard, I think, as the kids get older to really understand that they really at this time cannot see their friends, and I think as they get older they can really understand. But it is something that they will never ever forget, you know.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. But I will tell you now, like if you ask Naomi, do you want to go outside today, or even Olivia, yes, when you want to take the dog on a walk, and they're like, no, we don't want to go outside. It's so
Really?
funny.
That's
Yeah,
like the
they're like,
opposite. Yeah, for us, it's like now, before Colin, my son, was not super into athletics. I mean, he played soccer, but was not really super active. But now it's like, you know, we make him go running. We have a skateboard. He likes to go skateboarding, and he'll do it all on his own. And he actually, like just earlier, it was raining, and he said, "Can I go outside and ride the skateboard?" And we're like, it's lightning, it's thunder. And he like just wanted to be outside because he was like, I'm bored. I'm tired of watching TV all day. Like I've never seen him say he was tired of watching TV all day long. So there's like little glimpses of that.
well, I'm
So
looking forward to that age then.
yeah. So speaking of that, I want to kind of shift gears and talk about some of the positive things that you both have experienced coming out of this social distancing, quarantining, coronavirus thing.
Ooh, we all take a breath and think about that.
Yes. I think my cooking game, I mean, I feel like
Your cooking game.
I'm experiencing something new, experimenting something new every day. And like Myron has been more involved, so that's good. And we started this thing where we're basically like buying like new wines every week, and we're making our own little like wine book, like we're rating rating wines and just testing things. And so we're actually spending more time connecting at some points than we usually do during a regular week, because he's always traveling, always in meetings, which he absolutely misses. He hates being at home, but at the same time, I feel like we work out together in front of, like we're doing like those like like your workouts, Michelle, or those like workouts on TV, and we do this together. And so in a way, like it's forcing us to be a little bit more connected than we usually do. And that's definitely, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we're the same way. Steven, my husband, and I typically do completely different workouts. He's more of a runner, and I don't particularly enjoy running. So our new thing is that Colin and I are his water boys. So if he goes on a run, we'll go on a leisurely bike ride with him. So last weekend, he went running around the neighborhood. Maybe it was like 6 or 7 miles, and we just like rode alongside with him. And Colin had his little he has a hydration backpack, and he has a little water bottle stuck in the back of it. So whenever Steven needs water, he'll just reach over and grab it. So I mean, things like that, we never would have even thought about doing that, but we wanted to get our exercise in. We wanted to do something as a family. So definitely I would say that is like we've figured out ways to do our workouts together. And yeah, I mean, like for me personally, I think the time it's been over 2 months since I've kind of shifted my practice to mostly telemedicine, so seeing a lot of patients on video. But in the last couple of weeks, I'm starting to see patients back in clinic again. But even so, it's been about 2 months of a lot of downtime. So, I mean, that's allowed for a lot of self-reflection, kind of figuring out what I want to do for myself, for my career, for my family in the future. And I would not have had the ability or the time to do that beforehand. So that's
no, it's been really nice that we've decided that, for us, that we haven't been able to, we're a very spiritual family, haven't been able to go to church. So we decided for us that we've decided to go on a family walk every Sunday. So
I love that.
We go on, it's a long walk, and we end up having to drag the kids out, so I have a 15-year-old, 10-year-old, and an 8-year-old, and they're like, oh no, we have to go on the walk. But once you start walking, and then once you start getting a little tired and the barriers break down, you get to talk to your teenager about what she's really feeling, and the kids when they're there. And the moment the dad goes a little farther with the two boys, and I have a really special time with the teenage girl, or vice versa, it's just been our time. We're outside, we're appreciating what we have together, and it's just been hopefully a beautiful tradition that we're going to carry on from here.
I find it amazing, like we're all here like talking about like being in isolation from the world. It's really making us connect actually better with the people that are closer to us, and also I feel like for our neighbors, like you miss those interactions. So when you see somebody, you are excited to actually talk to your neighbor about like a little regular chit chat. But I feel like that's something that I was always fearing as we were advancing in life, and technology being more available. I was always scared with, like the Ubers or the Instacarts and all that, that are basically making us stay at home and everything brought to us. I was like, are we going to lose, like a way to really socialize with people and become like sociable people? But now we're like thrown in like unexpectedly in this situation where we are isolated, but we're craving interactions and connections. So that gives me a lot of hope for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just been really interesting, for us too. It's like, before I think we were all so busy, going here, going there far. And now we're sitting out on our driveway, or the kids are, we're watching them now ride their bike, and and the neighbor across the street comes out their door, and now it's like, before we really never had, or we should have had time, but we never had time. And now, like, hey, how are you? What's going on? Like, how are you doing? And you need anything? Are you okay? I mean, really, I felt specifically, my neighborhood, I think during this, we've really gotten to know each other. We've kind of really made sure that, elderly down the street, they're okay. And so it's been, good things and bad things about the situation. And I'm grateful. I think I've really gotten to know my neighbors a little better. And so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is one thing that this time, I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's been about 2 months. I mean, it's allowed us to really take a pause of our own lives and really see what it actually is important to us. So last thing is, what is the one thing, if you can think of one thing, that the first thing that you would do if, say, coronavirus is all gone, eradicated, there's miraculously a vaccine, everybody's got the vaccine, what is the first thing that you would like to do?
Take the kids to school.
No,
Ship off the kids.
No, I guess mine is have a huge party at my house with everybody coming and enjoying, and like, yeah, that would be me, is everybody here at my house and having a good time.
Yeah, I agree. Like getting together with people and not having to worry about, standing like so far away from each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think physical touch is probably one of my love languages. I love hugs, and that was one thing. I mean, I'll ask my son for 1,000,000 hugs a day if I could. I mean, I just love that touch, and I haven't been able to hug my parents in so long. It would be so nice to hug my parents, hug my friends, see you guys in person. That's the one thing that I crave a lot. Yeah.
Just people coming over, being close with them and laughing and sharing, and definitely.
All right. Well, our final thing that let's just kind of chat about, excuse me, is our hope for our future conference. So the last thing we kind of just wanted to throw out there is, although we've had to postpone our conference, that's not to say that that's a bad thing. We definitely will have put on this amazing conference for women in the community, and we're still excited about it and still hoping to go full force once we're able to put that together. So I think that's the last thing that we wanted to share. But the last, I guess not the last thing, because the last thing I do want to ask you both is, what is kind of, if you could give our listeners and the people who are watching just one little tidbit of maybe like advice or a way to kind of deal with the stress of what's going on, what would be like a phrase or something that you would say? I'm putting you guys on the spot.
I mean, my phrase is definitely carpe diem, is take it day by day, and don't stress too much, and just enjoy the little things. That's what matters after all. Like taking it day by day, don't worry about tomorrow too much. Just enjoy the day that you have today. It's a gift.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I've kind of really, meditation has become something that I've had to really grab a hold of in my gratitude practice, in my meditation, and that I'm thankful for the things that I have right now. I mean, even if those things are that, like, I'm grateful for being with my family and everyone is healthy, and I hold on to that, and go throughout the day thinking that I mean, for me, that's the most important thing that I can do right now.
Yeah.
And so it's been really a lifesaver for anxiety for me. It's been really tough, and and that's how I ground myself in my gratitude.
Yeah. And definitely, I think, doing some gratitude work is really good, especially during this time. I mean, it's hard for us to do it all the time, but we try to, when we sit down for dinner, say a couple things of why we're great, what things we're grateful for that day. And I think my phrase will probably be kind of similar to yours, Emmeline, is like, it is what it is. And it's something that I have to constantly remind myself, because otherwise I would stress myself out too much. And something that we say a lot in yoga is just trust the process. And so, you know, and it's all about the journey. So this is just one part of the journey, and we'll get through it. And yeah. So we are out of time, but I want to thank both of you ladies for coming on today to kind of chat with me. And I hope that we'll get to chat again soon.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.